There are plenty of perspectives on both sides of this. Should we just unconditionally give taxpayer money to people who say they need it and have essentially no strings attached? You should be able to.
Has that ever happened though? Have we ever just unconditionally given taxpayer dollars to people with no strings attached? Really? We don't ask about their income. We don't ask about how many kids they have. We don't ask about, whether they're working or not. What the is she talking about?
You should be able to buy almost whatever you want to, or should there
Again, you can't buy whatever you want to on Snap.
be some limitations? And then, of course, there's probably some people who just don't believe that this is the role of the government at all, that this should just not be happening. In a CBS interview, a SNAP recipient named Erin Annis said that the government benefits allow her to live independently, even though she has family that'd be willing to support her. Stop 14.
Having those resources, what does it mean to you and for your life?
Everything. It means everything to me. I don't know what I would do except have to rely on my family, and I don't want to do that right now. There'll be a time when I'll probably have to live with one of my sons. But for now, I want to be independent. I want to be on my own.
Having these resources has allowed you to be independent.
Yes.
God, the fucking horror of people being independent.
It's allowing me to be independent.
It's like people forget where this money comes from.
Look how sad she is. She is sad that this old woman, this elderly woman, is able to live on her own with dignity and have access to food because the government is providing that for her. Like, this upsets her. Like, that is insane. That is so that is anti-Christian. The only way you get food is the ways that I want and the ways that I allow. It has to be through my Christian charity. Otherwise, it's not legitimate.
You're not actually independent. You are completely dependent on the government.
Right.
And it's not.
Oh, guess what? We're all dependent on the government every time we drive a car, right? You don't need to shame this lady for fucking getting food stamps because she probably has a disability. She just can't work for whatever reason. And we don't know the specifics of her situation. We don't know. She might be able to rely on her family, but it could be a significant burden for them. Like, we don't know how close her family is to the poverty line, right? They could be struggling too, right? Like, they themselves could be close to needing SNAP benefits. We don't know. But of course, Allie Beth Stuckey does not consider that possibility, because she's so compassionate as a Christian.
On the government. I mean, the government doesn't have its own money. The government has money from us.
The government doesn't have its own money? Allie, where does money come from? How does money get created? Do U.S. citizens create money? Or does the government create money? There's a whole discussion to be had here about like modern monetary theory and whatever, but I'm not going to bore you with all of that.
And so you have people who are willing to sacrifice, who are trying to make ends meet, who are trying to provide for their families themselves, who are paying for this woman to live, quote unquote, independently, to buy her groceries, even though it sounds like she would actually be able to.
I mean, it sounds like you want to raise taxes on the rich then and reduce them on the middle class and the poor.
Rely on family. That is the better option. That is the more moral option.
According to who? Why do you get to make that determination? Where in the Bible does it say, oh, the only way that you can receive, help is through friends and family? You're not allowed to do it via the government, I guess. Or you have to grovel to a church, beg them for help, because that's the way I want to do things. I'm the one who gets to decide how you get charity. Unbelievable. Or we could just feed people. If we eliminated SNAP, which is what it sounds like she wants to do. She's saying it's more moral to rely on friends and family, and I guess your church or whatever, What if you don't go to church? What if you're an atheist? What if you're a Muslim? What if you're, whatever? If we eliminated SNAP, millions of people would go hungry. But the churches and the this and that would step in. Government spending on SNAP dwarfs private charity. If we just get rid of it, then we just assume everyone's gonna, chip in to fucking make up that difference?
Our tax dollars are taken away from us in a compulsory way. Like we have
Right.
to. We will go to jail if we don't pay
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's.
our taxes. So the government is forcing the money that we earned out of our hands and is forcibly giving it to someone else who could rely on family to buy her groceries. That's not ethical. That's not moral.
Yeah, it's really relatable when this wealthy woman is talking about taking people's SNAP benefits away.
Some TikTok users have been threatening to steal from stores if they don't receive their SNAP benefits, SOT 15.
I'm gonna tell y'all straight up like this. I just got that text that the link is definitely cut the off for November. Y'all better stay the out of my way in these stores. I'm walking out with carts and I'm not paying for Trump, if you won't start looting, what's gonna happen?
Oh man. Oh, she's just. She is so upset. She's so upset. Look at Allie's face. She just can't believe what she's seeing. I'm not saying that this TikTok was fake. All right. But if you look this up, guys, a lot of these TikToks are people rage baiting. Okay. They're trying to get their 15 minutes of fame. They're trying to make some money off TikTok. Not all of these are real TikToks. And these conservatives highlighting these TikToks, which are primarily basically 100% black people, is to stoke racial division. It's to get poor white people mad at the poor black people.
Okay. There was another woman who said that she's actually making money off of the food stamps. She gets it from the government. She doesn't really need it. She sells it for a little bit more money.
Whoa.
And so she said that she's making around $1,000 to $2,000 a month off of this. And
How can you be making $1,000 to $2,000 a month when the average SNAP benefit per person per month is $187? You're a single mom with, let's say, 3 kids. You might receive $750 in benefits if you're a single mom with 3 kids. Yeah, and then when you sell food stamps, you typically have to sell them for less than their face value, right? Because it's illegal. You're not supposed to do that. So I think that's probably another made up bullshit lie. And beyond that, okay, what she's highlighting here is SNAP fraud, which is a problem. It's not good. I don't like it. I don't want people taking advantage of the system. I want, hungry people to be fed. We know that 60% of people who receive SNAP benefits are elderly and children, which I guess she just doesn't want them to eat or whatever. But if she was so concerned with fraud, why isn't she talking about the military-industrial complex? Military contractor fraud absolutely dwarfs SNAP fraud. Dwarfs it. If she was so concerned with our tax dollars being spent fraudulently, she would be talking about that nonstop. Our tax dollars are being taken away from us, given to military contractors, so that Israel can go bomb brown kids. That seems a little bit more important than, bitching about old ladies getting food stamps so that they can live on their own.
not just one person, that this is something that's probably extremely prevalent. According to a May 2000,
Was that hers?
and I guarantee you that's not making around $1,000 to $2,000 a month off of this. And I guarantee you that's not just one person, that this is something that's probably extremely prevalent. According to a May 2024 Economic Policy Innovation Center report, food stamp enrollment surged from 17.3 million individuals in 2001 to 42.1 million in 2023. Okay, so over the course of 22 years, that's more than doubled. That's a lot. 6.
What happened? What happened? There are two, really obvious things I can think of in that time period. The 2008 financial crisis and COVID. One of those was a little bit more recent. Like, of course something like that might happen.
1% enrollment in 2001 to 12.6 in 2023. Again, we've got a lot of really deep problems. 48% of food stamp.
You're right. We do have a lot of deep problems. Capitalism cannot feed everyone. Good job, Allie. You're on the way, comrade.
Recipients stay on the rolls for 20 months or longer, compared to less than 20% after the 1996 welfare reform. Not only are costs to taxpayers skyrocketing, but RFK pointed out in August that a large portion of the funds are going toward candy and sugary drinks. This is something that RFK has been talking about. He's the HHS secretary, that the food stamps are actually fueling the diabetes epidemic. 18%, he says, of federal SNAP benefits to poor families is spent on candy and sugary drinks. Now, you have people trying to frame this
18%.
saying, you know, poor kids deserve to have cookies, or poor kids deserve to have the juice box. Okay, that is the wrong way to frame this.
Hey, can you turn off your notifications? You're doing a show right now. Close Facebook and focus on the show.
The right way to frame this is, should the taxpayer, say the middle class taxpayer who is making just enough money to get by, should they?
The middle class isn't the only one that pays taxes, but again, if you cared about this, you would say let's make sure billionaires don't pay a 2% effective tax rate. How about that?
Be forced to pay for the food of someone that is not actually essential to them living. I think most of us would say, okay, I am willing to pay taxes to help the truly destitute family who needs bread and meat and water to get by. Like, well, I think all of us would say, yes, you know what, government, you can handle that. Even though I think primarily this should be the church's responsibility. This should be charitable giving. I think Christians do a much better, more efficient, and more trustworthy job than doing this than the government. And I do think that's the church's primary job, but I think all of us would be okay, if you want to take a portion of my hard-earned dollars, my tax money, and you want
my hard-earned dollars where I sit and complain to a camera about how poor people are hungry and want food. You're doing such a great job, Allie.
to give it to those who are truly destitute for a temporary amount of time to get their essentials, I think most of us would say, yeah, that's fine. That's okay. But if you were telling me that you are, that I am forced to pay for the diabetes of a kid whose parents could be working or could be relying on family members, that's not just, that's just theft.
Wait, who? There are work requirements. What are you talking about? Unless you have a disability. If you're able-bodied, there are work requirements.
It's just theft. And it not only aids in diabetes and health problems, but this just entire entitlement mentality that you deserve other people's money.
That's one way to put it. Do you think everyone deserves to eat? Did Jesus say not feed the hungry, clothe the poor? Did he say the only way you can help people is through your 501c3?
Hello, my name is Adam
Hi.
Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy.
No thanks.
I look forward to...
Bye-bye.
Again, for things that are not even essential, but are actually detrimental. So I agree with those who are saying that, no, your taxpayer dollars should not be funding that literal crap for people. What else is being done to improve this broken system? So there's fraud. There are people who are on it who don't really need it. We're funding
Like that old lady who obviously did need it.
all kinds of non-essential food that is not only fueling this diabetes epidemic, but also like these sugary foods and dyes and all of that, they have a negative impact on people's behavior, on people.
Okay, then why should they be in our food supply at all? Why should they be in our food supply at all? I mean, I'm with you when it comes to phasing out junk food. That's fine with me. Or, redirecting our resources to at least healthier versions of these, these snack items. But that seems like it would require A lot of government intervention, which you don't seem to be a fan of.
People's mental health. I mean, they exacerbate things like ADHD. People with ADHD generally have low impulse control. I would say that the nutrition epidemic that is happening and being funded by SNAP probably has a direct impact also on the crime epidemic. And a lot of times among the same demographic, and we are all
Can you show me studies? Can you give me anything else other than your just speculation? Is that possible? Is that too much to ask?
funding that. That's a problem. Okay, so new SNAP rules went into effect on Saturday, even though benefits will not be issued through November.
Wait, let's get her biblical perspective on SNAP. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, SNAP was not mentioned in the Bible. Relatable.
So, what's a biblical perspective on this? Because you got a lot of people quoting Jesus saying, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat, but only if I qualified. Like I was sick and you healed me, but only if I had the proper insurance. And they're completely misinterpreting and misapplying Jesus's words. First of all, Jesus is not speaking to the government. Jesus is speaking to you. And the establishment of the early church, when we read
the government is supposed to represent the will of the people, right? And I recognize that oftentimes it does not. But I think, as you were saying earlier, most of us, would want some kind of entity providing for its citizens when they cannot provide for themselves for whatever reasons, right? Like the government wouldn't exist without people. The government isn't just some amorphous thing that exists separate from humanity, separate from human beings, right? We created government to hopefully do the things that we think are good for society, right? It doesn't always work out, but I think SNAP is one of those things.
Read in Acts 2, I believe, that Christians were giving to one another and making sure that everyone had what they needed. This was voluntary, empowered by the Holy Spirit. This was not compulsory. The government wasn't coming in and saying, hey, you have to give your resources to this poor person over there. That's what socialism is. In Christianity,
that's not what socialism is.
We do this cheerfully. We do this empowered by the love of Christ and the Holy Spirit.
We do it cheerfully, and then we get really, really, really upset. We get really angry when the government provides these services better than we do.
In socialism and this kind of wealth redistribution world that we currently live in, the government is saying you do this or you...
Oh, there's so much wealth redistribution that, 10 people in this country own the same amount of assets as the bottom, 70%. Yeah, all that wealth redistribution.
Go to jail. That has nothing to do with Christianity whatsoever. Now, we can argue about how much the government should give, what the safety net should look like. But my opinion is that it should be a safety net. You don't stay there. It's not a hammock for you to rest in. It is a safety net that...
Right, because everyone's situation. You know what is happening in people's lives to where you get to determine how much they get, right? How much they're able to feed themselves. That's determined by you, apparently. Not by people's individual circumstances, but by what you think is moral.
That will catch you before you fall into destitution, and you are supposed to get out of it eventually, if at all possible.
So I performed microinfusion on this side of my face.
What the fuck are you doing?
Nothing at all.
2 Thessalonians 3:6-10 reminds us of this. Now we command you, brothers, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you keep away from any brother who is walking in idleness and not in accord with the tradition that you received from us. For you yourselves know how you ought to imitate us, because we were not idle when we were with you, nor did we eat anyone's bread without paying for it. But with toil and labor we worked night and day, that we might not be a burden to any of you. For even when we were with you, we would give you this command: if anyone is not willing to work, let him not eat. Now, he didn't say not able to work. He said not willing to work. There are people who are truly unable to work, who might really need help. Again, I think it's the church's responsibility to care for those people. But
Why? But who? Oh my God, dude. It's the church's responsibility. You know, there are mega churches, giga churches, like Joel Osteen's, right? And fucking, what's that guy, that demonic guy who like had to fly his own private jet because he didn't want to be next to gross normal people. These churches have hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that pay for these pastors' extravagant lifestyles, which could be feeding people. Now, I'm not saying they do nothing to help people, but when Joel Osteen or Ted, whatever his name is, are purchasing private jets that cost tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, where else could that money go? Oh yeah, it could go to feed people, but it's not. So maybe we shouldn't just rely on churches.
I don't think it's wrong for the government to have a role to play in that. But we should not be incentivizing idleness. It's bad for you.
But see, that doesn't make sense. She's like, oh, I don't think it's wrong for the government to have a role, just not to the extent that I find unacceptable. But that contradicts your central argument that it's wrong for the government to take your money away from you to give to someone else. But then you say, oh, it's actually okay when it's a small amount, an amount that I find acceptable. Which is it?
Does not provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household. He has denied the faith and worse than an unbeliever. Wow, that's really bad. If you are not willing to help those within your sphere who would otherwise have to rely on the government, if you can, you are worse than an unbeliever. That's how important taking care of each other and generosity is, not only in your own biological family,
right,
but also in the family of faith.
Yeah, that's great when people live up to, you know, the lofty ideals of the Bible, but that's not reality. And again, you have people who are mega millionaires, right? Who could otherwise be using that money instead of to enrich themselves to help more of their community, but they don't. So I'm not going to put all my stock in the churches when they fucking fail too.
Proverbs 14:31. Whoever oppresses a poor man insults his maker, but he who is generous to the needy honors him. So we should not be oppressing the poor. We shouldn't be stealing from the poor, but we also shouldn't incentivize the poor to be lazy. We should be generous.
We're not incentivizing the poor to be lazy. SNAP does not cover your entire food bill. It is supplemental. God, dude. Do you realize how expensive groceries are under your guy, your favorite guy? And again, dude, there are work requirements for SNAP. Do you know that? Yes, there may be people taking advantage, but I'm willing to, you know, sacrifice a few wasted dollars to feed people who legitimately need to be fed, which is most SNAP recipients. 60% elderly and children.
Yes, we should give to the needy. We should help those who really need it. Individuals in the church is much better at that, actually, than the government is.
Yeah, you just say that without any evidence.
Ephesians 4:28, let the thief no longer steal, but rather let him labor, doing honest work with his own hands, so that he...
All right, I think that I've had enough. I've had enough of this very, you know, empathetic, compassionate Christian who says that the government can provide a social safety net, can provide, you know, food stamps, but only at an amount that I find acceptable as a Christian who cares about people. But I also think that it's morally wrong for the government to take my money away from me and give to someone else, because that's socialism, even though it's not. But also they can give a certain amount or whatever. I guess the socialism only kicks in when it goes over the limit that I find acceptable. But yeah, like if you genuinely cared about this, Allie, you would be directing your ire towards all of the mega churches that are just swimming in cash and enriching its leadership. When all of that excess money could be given to the poor, but it isn't. So why don't you have a chat with those guys? Okay?